In the distant future, Earth has become a forgotten relic in the vast expanse of the Galactic Federation. To the Federation's countless species, humanity is nothing more than a backward, primitive race. Advanced civilizations have spread across the galaxy, leaving Earth's culture and traditions to fade into obscurity. The Federation's leaders see no value in ancient earthly practices, particularly martial arts like kung fu. In their eyes, such disciplines are outdated remnants of a time when humans lacked real power. They laugh at the notion that something as primitive as martial arts could stand against their vast technological might. Earth, in their view, is just another world to be brought into line. So, they send an elite squad of soldiers to Earth, tasked with ensuring compliance. These soldiers are the best the galaxy has to offer, equipped with energy weapons, combat exoskeletons, and advanced battle tactics designed to crush any form of resistance. Leading them is Commander Zaller, a being of immense size and strength, with cybernetic enhancements that make him nearly invincible in battle. The soldiers arrive on Earth without fanfare. They touch down in China, near a remote area nestled in the mountains. A location that, to the Federation, seems like nothing more than an insignificant speck on this already unimportant world. But within these mountains lies a Shaolin temple, a place where ancient martial traditions have been preserved in secret for generations. The soldiers step out of their ship, laughing amongst themselves as they march toward the temple. They have heard rumors of Earth's ancient warriors, rumors that amuse them more than anything. To them, it's a joke. The idea that humans once believed these ancient techniques could protect them from harm is laughable. They mock the very thought as they approach. As they near the temple, they encounter a group of monks practicing kung fu in the open courtyard. The soldiers stop, watching with bemused expressions as the monks move gracefully, their movements precise and measured. The soldiers exchange glances, chuckling under their breath. Commander Zaller shakes his head. This is what they call martial arts. How quaint! One of the soldiers, unable to contain his laughter, calls out to the monks. Hey, you call that fighting? You think that's going to stop us? We've seen kids on the outer colonies with better moves than that. The monks, serene and composed, ignore the taunts. They continue their practice, focused and unwavering. But the soldiers aren't done. Commander Zaller steps forward, his towering frame casting a long shadow across the courtyard. He points at the monks, smirking. I've seen enough. Let's show them what real combat looks like. Challenge them. The soldiers step forward, eager to demonstrate their superiority. They issue a challenge to the monks, a fight to prove once and for all that Earth's traditions are nothing compared to the Federation's advanced combat techniques. The monks, ever disciplined, accept the challenge without hesitation. A small group of young monks steps forward, ready to face the soldiers. The soldiers, already convinced of their victory, activate their combat gear, energy shields flaring to life as they prepare for what they see as a brief and entertaining skirmish. The fight begins, and it's over almost as quickly as it started. The young monks, despite their skill, are no match for the soldiers' advanced technology. Their strikes bounce off the soldiers' energy shields, and their movements, while graceful, are ineffective against the soldiers' brute strength and weaponry. The soldiers move with calculated efficiency, using energy blasts and force-enhanced strikes to subdue the monks with ease. The soldiers laugh as the monks fall one by one, their arrogance only growing with each victory. Is this it? One soldier jeers. This is what Earth has to offer. Pathetic. Commander Zaller watches with amusement, arms crossed as his soldiers mop up the fight. I told you, he says with a grin. There's nothing here worth our time. Earth is just another backwater planet. The soldiers continue to laugh, basking in their triumph. But their laughter is cut short when an older monk steps forward from the shadows of the temple. His steps are measured, his posture calm and composed. His presence commands attention, and the soldiers' laughter fades as they sense something different about him. Commander Zaller narrows his eyes as the older monk approaches. Who are you? He demands. The monk stands tall, his gaze steady as he addresses the soldiers. I am Master Zhou, the last Grandmaster of this temple. The soldiers exchange glances, confused. What do you want, old man? One of them asks, still sneering. Master Zhou's expression remains unchanged. I want to challenge your commander to a duel. The soldiers blink in surprise, and then, one by one, they start laughing again. A duel? You! One soldier scoffs. You think you can take down our commander? Commander Zhaler steps forward, his size dwarfing the Grandmaster. You're serious? You really want to fight me? Master Zhou nods calmly. If I win, you leave this place and never return. If I lose, we will surrender, and you may do with us as you wish. Zhaler chuckles darkly. This should be fun. Fine, old man. Let's see what you've got. The soldiers step back, eager to watch their commander humiliate the Grandmaster. They believe the outcome is already decided. After all, no amount of ancient training could possibly stand against the technological might of the Galactic Federation. The stage is set for what they expect to be a brief and humiliating defeat for Master Zhou. But as the Grandmaster takes his stance, there is no fear in his eyes, only a quiet confidence that sends a ripple of unease through the crowd. Master Zhou stood before Commander Zhaler, his expression calm and composed, as if the outcome of the fight had already been decided in his mind. The soldiers surrounding them watched with bemusement, expecting the Grandmaster's defeat to be swift and absolute. After all, how could an elderly man from a forgotten world possibly stand a chance against the Federation's most powerful commander? Zhaler, still grinning, adjusted the energy bands on his wrists, charging them with a faint hum that filled the air. I've crushed warriors twice your size, old man, Zhaler said. But I'll give you credit for having the courage to face me. Master Zhou said nothing, his silence unshaken by Zhaler's taunts. He remained steady, his breathing controlled, as if every fiber of his being was honed to a razor's edge. The soldiers couldn't understand it. There was no sign of fear in the old man, no tremble in his hands, no hesitation in his eyes. Zhaler finally grew tired of waiting. With a sudden surge, he launched himself toward Master Zhou, his massive frame moving faster than anyone could expect for a man of his size. His first strike was aimed directly at the Grandmaster's chest, powered by both his physical strength and the energy coursing through his body. It was a blow that would have shattered bones and crushed lesser opponents. But Master Zhou was no ordinary opponent. With fluid grace, he sidestepped the attack, his movements so subtle and effortless that it seemed as though Zhaler's punch had missed by miles. The soldiers gasped, their cocky expressions fading as they saw the speed and precision of the Grandmaster's movements. Zhaler, momentarily stunned by the miss, recovered quickly and unleashed a flurry of strikes, each one faster and more aggressive than the last. His fists and legs were like battering rams, and the air around him crackled with energy as he attacked. Yet, each time, Master Zhou evaded his strikes with an almost preternatural calm. The Grandmaster's movements were not flashy or exaggerated, but they were perfectly timed, slipping just out of reach of Zhaler's deadly attacks. The watching soldiers began to murmur among themselves. This wasn't what they had expected. Zhaler's strikes were meant to be unstoppable, yet this old man was avoiding them as if they were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. There was no fear in Master Zhou's movements, only clarity, precision, and control. Finally, Zhaler, growing frustrated, roared in anger. "Stand still, coward!" he bellowed, bringing both his fists down in a hammer strike that would have crushed Master Zhou into the ground. But Zhou didn't stand still. Instead, in one swift, flowing motion, he stepped to the side and brought his hand forward, lightly tapping a point on Zhaler's wrist. The commander's arm seized up instantly, the energy field around his wrist flickering out as his hand went limp. He looked down in shock as the pain shot through his arm, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Master Zhou remained composed, his eyes focused but serene. He had barely exerted any effort, yet the effect of his single strike had incapacitated the commander's dominant arm. The soldiers watching were stunned. This was no ordinary human, no feeble old man. There was something more here, something they didn't understand. Zhaler, now furious, charged at Master Zhou again, using his full strength to attack with his remaining functional arm. But once again, Zhou's movements were flawless. He avoided the blow with minimal effort, stepping just out of reach. Then, with a calm, almost dismissive gesture, he struck a point near Zaller's shoulder, causing his second arm to seize up and drop to his side, useless. The commander stumbled back, now completely disarmed, both literally and figuratively. His immense strength and advanced technology had failed him against this man's mysterious techniques. Zaller glared at Master Zhou, his face twisted in a mixture of pain and disbelief. What are you doing? How is this possible? Master Zhou's voice was soft but firm as he responded. You rely too much on your weapons and your strength. But you've neglected your understanding of your own body, of its true potential. That is why you've already lost. The soldiers could hardly believe what they were seeing. Zaller, their commander, the most powerful fighter among them, was helpless against this old man's seemingly effortless strikes. No weapons, no armor, no energy fields had been used by Master Zhou, just knowledge, precision, and skill. Zaller, now desperate, activated the energy bands around his legs, intending to use his full speed to overwhelm Master Zhou. He rushed forward, his body a blur as he aimed to close the distance between them in a fraction of a second. But even at this blinding speed, the Grandmaster remained one step ahead. With a single, decisive movement, Zhou pivoted and struck a point near Zaller's lower back. The commander's legs gave out beneath him, and he crashed to the ground, his body convulsing as the energy from his bands short-circuited. He lay there, groaning in pain, unable to rise. Master Zhou looked down at him, his expression unchanged. Power without control is nothing. Your strength blinded you to the weakness within. The soldiers were silent. Not one of them dared to speak, for they had just witnessed something they couldn't explain, something that defied all their beliefs about combat and technology. What they had laughed at, mocked, and ridiculed had just dismantled their commander with almost no effort. Master Zhou turned away from Zaller, walking calmly back toward the temple. He had won without so much as breaking a sweat, and the soldiers now looked at him not with disdain, but with awe. For the first time, they realized that Earth, in all its perceived primitiveness, held secrets and strengths that went far beyond their understanding. And this man, this Shaolin Grandmaster, had shown them that true power wasn't in the weapons they wielded or the technology they commanded, but in mastery over the self. The soldiers stood in stunned silence, their disbelief hanging in the air. What they had just witnessed defied everything they had been taught, everything they believed. Commander Zaller, the unstoppable force, the pride of the Galactic Federation's military, lay defeated, his body limp and broken. No one spoke, but the shock was visible on every face. This wasn't supposed to happen. Their superior technology, their advanced training, all rendered useless against a man they had laughed at mere moments before. Master Zhou stood over Zaller, his posture unchanged from the start of the duel. Calm, collected, as if nothing unusual had occurred. His movements had been so minimal, so precise, yet they carried an overwhelming power that the soldiers had not anticipated. They had expected brute force, an exchange of blows that would determine victory, but what they had seen was something entirely different, control on a level they couldn't begin to grasp. Zaller groaned, his pride hurt more than his body. He tried to rise but found his limbs unresponsive, still numb from the pressure points Master Zhou had struck. Frustration twisted his face as he stared up at the Grandmaster, unable to comprehend how he had been brought down so effortlessly. His mind raced to find an explanation, some way to rationalize what had happened, but nothing fit. This was beyond his understanding. The soldiers shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what to do next. They had come here confident in their mission, certain that Earth's so-called warriors would be no match for their superior strength and technology. But now, the realization was sinking in that they had vastly underestimated this place. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was a revelation. There was more to Earth than they had thought. One of the soldiers, younger and less experienced, broke the silence. "How did you do that?" he asked, his voice shaky. The others shot him a look, but none of them stopped him from speaking. They wanted to know too. Master Zhou didn't respond immediately. He looked at the young soldier for a moment, as if deciding whether or not to answer. Finally, in his quiet, measured tone, he said, "Your commander relied on strength. But strength alone is not enough. Control, understanding, precision, these are the true foundations of power." The young soldier frowned. "But we have technology. Weapons. You didn't use anything like that." Master Zhou's eyes softened, as if he were speaking to a child. "Technology is a tool, nothing more. It can enhance, but it cannot replace skill. You have forgotten the importance of the self. In your reliance on machines, you've lost touch with the essence of combat." Another soldier, more seasoned, stepped forward. "Are you saying you're stronger than us? That humans are stronger than the Galactic Federation?" Zhou shook his head. "Strength is not the right word. The Federation has great power, yes. But you lack understanding. You look at what you can build, what you can enhance, but you ignore the most powerful tool you have, your own body, your own mind." The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't something they could easily accept. They had been trained to believe in their superiority, in the Federation's unmatched might. Yet here was a man who had single-handedly brought down their commander, not with weapons, but with mastery of something they couldn't fully grasp. It was unsettling. Commander Zhaler, still on the ground, grit his teeth. "You think this proves anything?" he spat, anger flaring in his eyes. "You think you've won because of some cheap tricks? This means nothing. You'll be crushed, just like the others." Master Zhou's expression didn't change. He looked at Zhaler with the same calm gaze as before. "Your defeat here today is not about victory or loss. It is about understanding. The galaxy is vast, and there is always something to learn. You would do well to remember that." Zhaler struggled again, but his body wouldn't respond. The soldiers looked down at him, unsure of how to proceed. They had never seen him like this, defeated, humiliated. It was clear now that they had no hope of overpowering Master Zhou by force. The tension in the air was thick, their confidence shattered. One soldier, perhaps feeling the weight of the moment, took a step forward and asked the question they had all been thinking. "What do we do now?" Master Zhou regarded the group for a long moment, his gaze steady and unyielding. "Return to your Federation. Tell them what happened here. Perhaps they will understand that there is more to Earth than they thought. Perhaps they will realize that power is not everything." The soldiers hesitated. They had never been in a situation like this. They had never considered the possibility of retreat. But they could see now that there was no path forward. Fighting Master Zhou again would only lead to the same outcome. There was nothing to be gained by continuing the conflict. Commander Zhaler, still fuming, tried once more to rise, but the soldiers knew it was over. One of them stepped forward, reaching down to help their fallen leader to his feet. Zhaler swatted the hand away at first, but then, realizing he had no choice, accepted the assistance. His face was a mask of rage and frustration, but there was a deeper emotion hidden beneath: fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the power he had just encountered. As the soldiers gathered around their commander, preparing to leave, Master Zhou watched them with the same serene expression he had worn throughout the entire encounter. There was no gloating, no arrogance in his demeanor. To him, this had been a lesson, not a battle. A lesson that he hoped the soldiers would take back with them. Without another word, the soldiers began to retreat, moving back toward their ship. Zhaler, supported by two of his men, cast one final glance at Master Zhou, his face a mixture of fury and confusion. He didn't understand what had happened here today, and that unsettled him more than anything. As the ship's doors closed behind them and the engines roared to life, the soldiers knew that the mission had failed. But in that failure, they had gained something far more important than victory. They had gained a glimpse into a power they had never known existed. And as they departed from Earth, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had just encountered something far beyond their understanding. Something ancient, something powerful. The galactic soldiers departed Earth, their minds heavy with confusion and disbelief. What should have been a simple mission to enforce compliance had turned into an unexpected lesson in humility. As their ship soared through the atmosphere, leaving the planet behind, the silence among them was palpable. No one dared to speak, not even Commander Zalor. His defeat weighed heavily on all of them. What they had experienced on Earth was not just a loss, it was an encounter with something they couldn't quite explain. Zalor sat in his command chair, still recovering from the effects of Master Zhou's precise strikes. His body ached in ways it never had before. The Federation's advanced healing technology would take care of the physical injuries soon enough, but his pride, that was something else entirely. For the first time in his career, he had been bested in combat. And not by a superior weapon or advanced strategy, but by an ancient practice that he and his soldiers had dismissed as obsolete. His soldiers were no different. The confidence they had arrived with had vanished, replaced by a quiet, unsettling respect for the Shaolin Grandmaster. Their minds raced with thoughts about what they had seen, how someone with no apparent technology had dismantled their commander so effortlessly. They had fought countless battles, conquered entire worlds, yet they had never seen anything like what Master Zhou had done. One of the younger soldiers finally broke the silence, his voice hesitant. "What do we tell the Federation?" It was a question they had all been avoiding. The mission had failed. They had nothing to show for their efforts except a story that the Federation leaders would likely dismiss as nonsense. But they knew what they had seen, and they couldn't ignore it. Commander Zalor, still staring straight ahead, didn't answer at first. His mind was elsewhere, replaying the battle over and over. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "We tell them the truth," he said, his voice low and measured. "We tell them what happened." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The truth? That an old man had defeated their most advanced commander with a few well-placed strikes? That centuries-old martial arts had triumphed over the most sophisticated combat technology in the galaxy? It seemed absurd, even to them, but they knew it was the only option. "But they won't believe us," another soldier said, his tone uncertain. Zalor clenched his jaw. "They don't have to believe us. They just have to know." There was a long pause as the weight of that statement settled over the group. It was true. Whether or not the Federation believed them, the knowledge of what they had encountered on Earth would spread. The galaxy would hear about the Shaolin Grandmaster, about the power that had been hidden away on this seemingly insignificant planet. And perhaps, in time, the Federation would come to realize that they were not as invincible as they thought. For Zalor, it was more personal. His defeat was not just a blow to his reputation, it was a challenge to everything he had been taught, everything he had believed about strength and power. He had always relied on his physical dominance, on the technology that enhanced his abilities. But Master Zhou had shown him something else. Something far more profound. The control, the precision, the inner strength that the Grandmaster had demonstrated. It was a kind of power that Zalor had never considered before. And now, he couldn't ignore it. As the ship moved deeper into space, leaving Earth far behind, Zalor made a decision. He would not return to the Federation as the same man who had left. His encounter with Master Zhou had changed him, and he knew that the Federation would not understand. They would continue to rely on their technology, their weapons, their outward displays of strength. But Zalor had seen something different, something deeper. In the back of his mind, he wondered if he would ever truly grasp the secrets of the Shaolin Grandmaster's techniques. Could someone like him, a soldier of the Federation, learn the kind of discipline and control that Master Zhou possessed? It seemed impossible, but the question gnawed at him nonetheless. The younger soldier who had spoken earlier glanced nervously at Zalor. "What do you think will happen when we report this?" Zalor exhaled slowly, staring out into the void of space. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know that Earth is not what we thought it was. They're more than we gave them credit for." The soldiers nodded, though they still seemed unsure. Earth, the planet they had once mocked, now held a mystery they couldn't solve. And the man they had ridiculed as an outdated relic had turned out to be far more formidable than any of them could have predicted. As their ship sped through the stars, Zalor allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He had spent his life chasing power, seeking to dominate his enemies with overwhelming force. But what Master Zhou had shown him was a different kind of power, one that came not from external tools, but from within. It was a power rooted in discipline, in mastery of the self. And though Zalor had been defeated by it, he couldn't help but respect it. In the quiet of the ship, the soldiers knew that their understanding of the galaxy had changed. Earth was no longer just a forgotten backwater planet. It was a place of hidden strength, of ancient wisdom that surpassed even their most advanced technologies. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, but they had left with something far more valuable, an awareness of their own limitations. Zalor, lost in thought, leaned back in his chair. He would return to the Federation and make his report, but he knew that this wasn't the end. Earth, with its ancient traditions and mysterious power, would remain on his mind. The Federation had dismissed the planet as irrelevant, but Zalor had seen the truth. There was something about Earth, something that went beyond what the Federation understood. As the stars streaked past the ship, Zalor allowed a small, grim smile to cross his face. They had been defeated, yes. But they had also been given a rare opportunity to learn to grow. And in time, he knew that the galaxy would come to understand what he had discovered on Earth. The true power of the human spirit. And for that, Zalor realized, he was almost grateful.